Hey guys, let's start with new chapter of Loyalpin Volume 2, Chapter 44, Give a Blessing. And this chapter is from the point of view of Lady Belantita. I have been having constant nightmares for a while now. In my dream, I saw Anil dressed in a completely black dress, sitting cross-legged on her favorite smoky grey sofa in the front of the window next to the balcony, where I could see the drizzling rain blending in with the heaviness of the grey blue sky all the time. When I sat on the opposite side of the sofa, Anil's delicate body gradually became misty and disappeared, like the morning mist in the warm sunlight. I absent mindedly reached out my hand and grabbed the air before me. When I realized that everything was left with only emptiness, I was only lowered down, kneeled next to the sofa disappointedly, dropped my face on my palm, and started to cry my eyes out, feeling hopeless. I always wake up the moment the dream progresses to this point. First awaken, I found that the letter was startled and opened my eyes. Slight sweat often appeared all over my forehead, and the pillow I was on soaked with tears. I could only reach out and grab Anil's body that I hoped to be sleeping next to, causing her to move closer and tighten her embrace towards me until there was no space left between us. Nevertheless, beside me on my bed was so cold, wrinkled, and empty, and it had been emptied like that for a long time, as if Anil had never been beside me. It was as if those stories were dreams upon dreams that never actually happened. Though it's true. If you look at it with a plain eye, there is nothing strange that people around me will see. I'm still okay. As long as I was still breathing, I didn't suffocate to death in front of Auntie as I had predicted, while actually I can hardly eat, can't sleep. Moreover, the only time I could sleep was because I was tired from crying and exhausted myself until I fell asleep, not counting every moment of the day that I was absent minded, dull, and following Auntie's word. It goes around like that every day. I'm still alive. I was living with a fading soul that is now as fragile as broken glass that is ready to break at any moment. The maximum punishment I received for choosing to marry Khonkua instead of allowing Anil to renounce her royal status was as severe as the death penalty. When Anil became angry, like she had never been angry at anyone like this, it was genuinely intense and unprecedented emotion for her. Comparing Anil's irritated mood to paper, throughout Anil's past, the paper was naturally white and blank because Anil was never angry at anyone. It was a novel experience for those who knew her. My mistakes are, therefore, as bad as the disgusting stains of black ink on white paper. The punishment I received was that Anil didn't allow me to have the opportunity to meet Anil's face at all. Because if I stayed in the Bua Palace, Anil would either remain at the front palace or go to the university all day and return to the Pine Palace only after midnight. And if I have an errand at the front palace, Anil will return to the Pine Palace immediately. Or she just stays in her bedroom like that every time. The severe punishment destroyed my heart until it was torn to shreds like some kind of waste that no one cared about. I still want to meet Anil and still desires not to give up, even though I knew that I would not have the right to meet the person. I dare to reject the highest kindness she offered to me among the many people in the reading room that day, while Anil dares to demand everything according to her own will. I was so timid again. Maybe because my auntie taught me always to be aware of myself. Don't pull the sky down. Note, this phrase means don't bring a higher ranked person down to be a commoner. Nevertheless, what I did was in the opposite direction. When I struggled to climb up and pull the sky down close to me, It almost caused the sky to collapse and swallow it into the ground so easily. If only Anil would resign from her position for me. Even though I could not answer why I was so afraid, even though I couldn't answer why I was so faithful to Anil's status, the answer turned out to be that I did not wish for Anil to sacrifice herself for me. If that were the case, I would rather die. However, when I opted for a different path, even if I didn't suffocate to death, it turned out that the choice was the path to cross over to the point called Hell on Earth, the ceremony of paying respects and wearing a ring. Will you take off the beautiful diamond ring on your left ring finger? Kunkua's mother, Lady Lamom, asked me hesitantly, probably a little in awe of Auntie, as Auntie didn't mention this issue, that it should have been a big issue at the engagement ceremony. I held my left hand tightly with my right hand. Only then did Auntie acknowledge my body language. You should ask about Lady Pen's willingness. The ring has been on her finger for a long time, and I guess she doesn't want to take it off. Wearing two rings on top of each other is not very unusual, is it? Auntie turned her face and looked into the eyes of Lady Lamom, who was now wide eyed in surprise. From time immemorial, Princess Padmika was known to be very strict with traditions. Even Princess Padmika herself saw that this matter was not a big deal, and how could Lady Lamom speak up and protest? Lady Pin, would you like to take off the old ring or not? Auntie turned and spoke to me in a voice full of compassion. Unknowingly, she turned her gold topaz and diamond ring on her right ring finger. I don't want to take it off, Auntie, I answered honestly. I couldn't help but hope that she would indulge me in such minor matters in exchange for my choice to sacrifice all the happiness I had for an entire wedding engagement, scented with hypocrisy. Then don't make Lady Pin have to take off the ring. It's not that strange. Sometimes wearing two rings together can look chic, as is popular in the West. In that case, it must be as you wish, Your Highness. Lady Lamom accepted Auntie's words. She glanced once more at the platinum ring decorated with beautiful diamonds. It was disappointing that my diamond ring contains less carat and the sparkle is many times less beautiful than her. Lord Kuakat is still talking about the previous topic endlessly. Then it must be Kunkua's duty to find a more outstanding ring than this one to engage Lady Pen. Princess Padmika spoke coldly. If you can't find it, we must allow it to be like this. Only then, Lord Kuakat immediately lowered his head like a coward. The several weeks involved with him made me realize very clearly that he was a stubborn and arrogant person. But he had no confidence in events that were completely different from his daily life. Then I must allow Lady Pen to wear another ring at our engagement ceremony, Your Highness. He said this while he looked up into my eyes as if he were begging for something. I looked at my fiancé with disdain since I didn't love him. No matter what he did, it didn't completely satisfy me. Then let it happen. Princess Padmika's voice was unyielding and resolute. Wearing two rings on top of each other, don't force and threaten Lady Pen to take it off, even though she doesn't want to. Hearing this, I felt unconscious and bowed down to prostrate to my auntie's feet, for no matter how she forced me to follow her thoughts, at least she hadn't broken my heart to such an extent that she forced me to die. We will have to go to prepare in moment at the front palace, Princess Padmika ordered in a voice full of authority. Kunpin and I must go ahead and check on the area first. If the appointment time comes, you and Kunkua please follow. Auntie spoke to interrupt and immediately led me to follow her to get in a car to the front palace. Along the way from the Boa Palace to the front palace, I just leaned against the glass of the car window mournfully. The more I saw that the sky this morning looked dark and grey, my mind plunged deeper into the pit of pain. On my engagement day, even the sky was not happy. immersed in such depressing thoughts for a long time. Peepum brought me and Auntie to the front palace quickly. My body felt extremely cold in that second. The moment I saw the door of the reception hall, decorated with beautiful flower arcs stretching from the small roundabout to the stairwell, I never wished for this event to happen. Nevertheless, wasn't it me who had to conscript servants from all over the palace to come and make Uba decorate the front palace so much that they misunderstood that someone was falling in love, which is there is none. My auntie and I helped each other to check the area in many matters. For example, are the offerings that need to be prepared for the Saftarat and Kasidat families ready? Was the chair for the king covered with appropriate cushions? I looked at the scene in front of me with drifting eyes. What else can I do other than to let it be? It wasn't long before Prince Kopkyat, Lord Kua's father, Lady Lamom, Khon Kua joined in. During the late time, relatives from the Cassidet family began to arrive. Auntie welcomed them very well, while I, unfamiliar with those aunts and uncles, could only give everyone a small smile instead of conversing. Today, Kunpin is beautiful. Kunkua is also good looking. Such a good match. I don't know how many times I heard these words from the guests in the ceremony until I could almost memorize every word. Kunkua listened to this and smiled widely, but I could only stare blankly at the carpeted floor in the reception hall, absent minded. Shortly before the ceremony began, the king came down from the upper floor along with Princess Alissa, the Grand Prince, and the Vice Prince. I sat with legs folded back to one side and waited with Kunkua in front of a long chair. I secretly glanced to the stairwell, but I still couldn't find the shadow of the youngest daughter of Saftarat. Anil might have chosen not to come. Where's Anil? The king asked his eldest son. His elegant face was distorted with doubt. Why hasn't she come down yet? Anil seems to be sick. The Grand Prince answered his father, but he lowered his eyes, not daring to make contact with his father's sharp eyes. Meanwhile, Princess Alessa, who knew everything well, only secretly exhaled. No, it can't be. The king's voice resounded and filled with authority. By status, Anil is considered Lady Pin's youngest aunt, just like Prince Anand and Prince Anon. Wouldn't it be good to accept an offering from the engagement? Your Majesty, the Grand Prince bowed in awe of the king's power. I am going to go get Anil now. As soon as I heard the Grand Prince's words, my heart suddenly started beating so fast that I felt pain in my chest. My face was so hot that I could feel it. My body trembled until it was difficult to control. But I bit my lip tightly until Kunkua still had to speak. Do you feel sick, Kunpin? The young man touched my upper arm with a large, thick hand in awe. I could only shake my head slowly before forcing myself to answer in a soft voice I could barely hear. No, I'm fine. In the meantime, Auntie prepared the order of the ceremony. The order of receiving gifts must begin with the female's parents first. Nevertheless, I'm an orphan. Auntie therefore asked for permission to ask the king and the Princess Alissa as a representative of the female's parents. Next in line would be Princess Padmika, the Grand Prince, the Vice Prince, and Anil. A few minutes before the ceremony was to begin, Anil was dressed in a clean white dress and walked down the stairs with the Grand Prince. I accidentally stared longingly at a beautiful face that I had not seen for a long time. I found that Anil also glanced at me. As soon as I laid eyes on Anil, my heart suddenly sank and fell to my own icy feet. When Anil's sharp, wry eyes turned indifferent, they felt like sharp knives stabbing my heart. That beautiful face wasn't sullen, but she didn't smile like she used to. Her slim, graceful body was so dazzling that everyone had to turn their heads to look at her. The white dress on her body floats and flutters to the rhythm of her walk before sitting in a single chair, side by side with the vice prince, with a calm expression as if she was not happy about anything. I sat and absorbed the agony in front of me, like a person with no choice. Even when I hadn't met her, I wanted to see her with all my heart. But when I met her, it hurt like I was being beaten with no mercy by an invisible whip. Maybe this is my punishment. It seems to be hundreds of times more severe than the death penalty. Finally, the gift giving ceremony had come to an auspicious time. Kunkoa offered incense sticks and candles on a golden tray to the king and Princess Alissa. After they received, we both presented the fine silk that Auntie had provided as an offering. Even though I have caused a great issue to them, Princess Alissa still has affection toward me, for besides giving me a gentle smile, she also reached out her hand and stroked my hair with a very soft touch. Princess Alissa gave me a large jewelry box in return, saying that it is an emerald sounded by diamonds. The king gave the diamond brooch to Kunkua, who is bowed down at the king's feet most of the time. I wish that Kunpin will be happily married to Kunkua, learn to relax and take it easy. If there is any conflict, forgive each other. May you have an hire at the end of the year. Your Highness. Kunkua widely smiled as he received Princess Alisa's blessing. May you be together until old. Kunkua, may you be a real man, protect and care for your family, and know how to nourish our couple to be happy. Don't let any suffering cause Lady Pin to be annoyed. The king's words sounded firm and decisive that Kunkua has to lower his head in fear. Next comes my auntie. Auntie who has so lovingly and carefully raised me from childhood until I grew up all alone for many years. Auntie's face in front of me now looked sensitive and fragile in a way I had never seen before. I feel humiliated that this engagement was not in return for my auntie's kindness in any way. Nevertheless, I did it only to preserve Anil's royal status. I'm such an ungrateful niece. Auntie gave me it with a tray full of gold bars. I glanced at Kunkua's sparkling eyes and couldn't help but feel regret for the cost my auntie gave to us. My Lady Pen, from now on, I can feel relieved that you will have someone to take care of you, of instead of me. I hope that Kunkua will cherish Lady Pen, who is like my heart, as best as you can. Auntie spoke as she reached out and held my hand while I was full of tears. I promise with my honor, Your Highness. Kunkua hurriedly responded to Auntie's words in a flattering gesture. Next in order of the ceremony would be the Grand Prince, followed by the Vice Prince, who can be called my uncle as well. According to the status, as for the sequence of gifts given by the youngest auntie, who was last in line of the Saftarat family, was the most influential for me. I looked at Anal, who slowly stood in front of me. That beautiful face was still as beautiful as before, although she looked a bit thinner and it was hardly noticeable. Her full lips with dark red lipstick, her clear cheeks still have a deep dimple. Her hair is loose and long. Her earrings make her neck look long and graceful. How Anil was beautiful. She's still beautiful like that. My heart immediately sank when Anil's eyes glanced at me. I averted my eyes as I presented a beautiful navy blue panang with silver embroidery to her thin hand. She accepts my gift with her silver hairpin, paired with the gold hairpin that Lady Dararai had given to me. I give the silver hairpin with the wish that it would go back together with the gold hairpin that used to be side by side. Anil spoke faintly and gave a light smile that looked very sad. I lifted my eyes to meet Anil's dark eyes, filled with longing, and unconsciously the first tears came down my cheeks. I give you a blessing, Anil spoke while she moved her face nearer. May Kunpin be fulfilled in love. I made eyes contact with Anil for a long time while silently shedding tears. While Kunkua, Anil perfunctory gave a platinum bracelet to the young man before her. I can only say that. A wry smile lifted the corners of her lips before bending down to whisper in Kunkua's ears, just enough for me and Kunkua to hear, with a soft, cold voice that touched my heart. Please be humble. That's it for this chapter, guys, and I'll see you next with chapter 45. And I would like to thank for supporting and subscribing me. It means a lot. Thank you.